why is it that these children are being overly subjected to these punitive methods of incarceration. Look, there's a different way that we can change behavior, because ultimately that's what everyone wants, right?
Black students and white students are sent to the principal's office at similar rates, but black students are more likely to end up with a serious punishment. One study found that white students are more likely to be suspended for provable offenses like smoking or vandalism. Black students are more likely to be suspended for subjective offenses like talking back or insubordination. Students who are suspended in school are more likely to later drop out or get arrested.
The school-to-prison pipeline is essentially the idea that we have created a system that criminalizes conduct in school, so typically teenagers, that then turns into a criminal justice issue where you're involved in the actual criminal system.
It is a way for juvenile students, particularly disadvantaged students of color, to go straight from school and into prison, because students of color are disproportionately being put into detention facilities at significantly higher rates than non-students of color.
Rather than just dealing with misbehavior within the school or within the community, we are turning to a system that traditionally has been meant for adults. So, you know, a fight breaks out, and rather than dealing with that through a traditional disciplinary measure within the school, the case is referred to a prosecutor who then decides whether that individual is going to be prosecuted in the criminal system.
My clients were, number one, poor and came from very disadvantaged backgrounds, and oftentimes were children of color.
This is a national issue. We have police officers, school resource officers in the vast majority of public schools, many of which we don't even have nurses in. So the prominence of criminal-focused response to bad behavior has become a pretty common approach in the Seattle schools and elsewhere. The vast majority of adults with whom I worked had a juvenile record, and so their interaction with the system started as a kid.
And so children are going directly from their school and then into juvenile detention or jail.
They're being exposed to trauma over and over and over again. And so as a kid, in a situation where maybe you should have just had a mediation or maybe had some sort of a disciplinary action brought against you in school that was not necessarily being referred to the criminal justice system, and that just kind of spirals and snowballs and turns into you being very involved in the system and feeling like there is not hope for you and not feeling optimistic about your future, which ultimately leads a disproportionate number of people to continue crying out for help or, you know, engaging in misconduct for whatever reason, whether it's hard to find a job because of a record that this person has. The school to prison pipeline is kind of the start to this snowball effect that leads people to the adult criminal system that is not nearly as forgiving as the juvenile system.
Ultimately, if what we're really trying to do is reduce the rates of recidivism, then what we need to do is address the underlying behavior when they're young, that there should be some kind of mechanism there that instead of focusing on the punitive measure that says, okay, instead of suspending you from school, maybe what we should be doing is saying, what's going on with you at home? Tell me a little bit about your background.